7 days earlier, security camera footage flickers, grainy and gray. Three federal agents wheel out a rusted file safe from the basement of the J. Edgar Hoover building. No words, just the sound of steel dragging over concrete. Washington, D.C. A closed-door hearing. The official title on the record. Facility Relocation Review. Everyone in the room knows that's a lie, Senator Hawthorne. How long have those files been sitting in that building? Director Patel, Cash Patel. Some since Watergate. Some since last week. The walls remember more than the people do. Hawthorne, you're not just closing a building, you're cutting the spine out of the Bureau, Patel. I'm removing a tumor. You want justice to stand? Don't build it on rot. Outside, press cameras swarm the entrance. Their lenses stare at a heavy bronze plaque. Federal Bureau of Investigation. J. Edgar Hoover. Building 50 years of silence pressed into a nameplate. But tonight, the silence is cracking. Inside a closed hearing, FBI Internal Oversight Committee. An aide places a thick stack of red folders on the table, each one stamped, classified, internal use only, pending destruction, Patel Mueller's task force. 32 phones wiped clean. You calling that standard protocol now, Commissioner Roth? That was 5 years ago, Patel. So were the FISA warrants, so was Crossfire Hurricane. Time doesn't erase law. The tension rises like steam from a sealed chamber. No one says it aloud, but they know he's not relocating a facility. He's dragging the past into the light, Senator Marston. You're chasing ghosts, Mr. Patel. I'm tracking footprints, and every single one of them leads back to this building. A large digital map of Washington lights up. Red markers spider out from the center. All of them converge on one point, Hoover Building, Marston. You want to send agents to Kansas City. You think distance solves corruption, Patel. I think fresh air helps, and this place hasn't breathed in decades. The room goes still, not from agreement, but because no one can refute it. Meanwhile, private line, undisclosed location, a former FBI official on the phone. Low voice, tight jaw, FBI official. He's got sealed transcripts, some from 2017, some we thought were buried, if those go public. Half the building's past gets exhumed. Unknown woman. Then maybe it's time we remind Mr. Patel why that building was made of stone, not glass. Night falls on D.C. The Hoover Building stands in shadow, windows dark, but everyone knows it's still watching deep inside that building. A file drawer slides open, not filled with documents, photographs, snapshots. No one was meant to see. One Mueller shaking Comey's hand, another McCabe signing a FISA request, the last one, a loose file folder labeled in shaky ink, Hunter, laptop, suppression, Patel alone. He sits in silence, eyes fixed on a restructuring plan. No smile, no sigh, just the quiet calculation of a man walking into fire, Patel. It's not the building I fear. It's what they left inside mourning. The Bureau's temporary operations room hums with fluorescent light. Patel enters holding a sealed envelope. He places it flat on the table and tears the flap clean. He reads the names aloud. No emotion, just sequence, Mueller. Comey, McCabe, Stursock. Page, Weissman. Kleinsmith. Baker, Agent Dawson watches the list unfold. That's not a team. That's a graveyard. Patel answers without looking up, it's a record. And today we start reading it out loud. He signals to the screen. A video feed loads from an archived hearing. Mueller under oath, his voice dry, hesitant. I'm not familiar with Fusion GPS. Dawson turns slightly in his seat. He said that on record, with cameras rolling. Patel nods. He said he didn't know. Fusion GPS didn't know the Steele dossier. Even though both triggered his appointment, Agent Santos steps forward. That's not ignorance, that's insulation. No, that's infrastructure. A second video cue starts. This one from Comey's testimony, 245 times. I don't recall. I don't know, I'm not authorized to answer. Patel speaks slower now. He ambushed Michael Flynn. No legal counsel, no warning. Then invoked the Logan Act, a law no one had used in half a century, and leaked the meeting to the press. Claimed the president wasn't under investigation, then recorded him anyway. He paused. Comey hired Steele as a bureau source. Even after Steele was fired, they kept paying him through intermediaries, then used his fake intel to get a FISA warrant on Carter Page. That file came from Hoover. Dawson lifts his head. From the main archive, from the sub-basement behind a false panel. They filed it under unrelated classification to bury it, but it was still warm. Another file appears on screen. Kleinsmith, an FBI lawyer, altered a government email, changed the status of a CIA asset, so it looked like he was a Russian target. Santos reads the next line. He was charged, but they called it an error. Said it didn't change the case. Even though it was the only justification they had, Patel draws a slow breath, and McCabe lied to federal investigators. 3 times under oath, still got his pension. The room doesn't speak. They've seen too much, heard too much, pretended too long. Santos breaks the silence. What do we do with all of it? Patel answers with precision. We verify, we tag, we prepare for pushback. Because when it goes public, they'll call it manufactured. They'll say it's edited. They'll say I made it up. He stands. This isn't just a cover-up, it's an ecosystem, one that lived off secrecy and counted on forgetfulness. Meanwhile, inside a soundproof office at the DOJ, 2 former senior officials flip through a folder in silence. If this sees daylight, we're not looking at hearings, we're looking at indictments, then don't kill the files, kill the signal. Discredit the man. Turn him into the story. Patel watches new folders open, tab after tab, time-stamped, sign-linked. Sir encrypted chatter just flagged a new string. They're calling it a containment breach. No, they're calling it that because the building isn't protecting them anymore. He picks up one last document, holds it to the light, watermark visible, sensitive compartmented JSOC liaison, origin unknown. The last file is simple, one name on the tab. Christopher Wray, late evening. The lights inside the temporary FBI field unit burn low. Screens glow along every wall. Each one displays a different file Patel's team recovered from the Hoover building. One screen reads Hunter Biden. Internal flag, misinformation protocol. Another shows parents at school boards. Domestic surveillance directive agent Santos stands with arms folded. This wasn't rogue, it was systemic. Patel scans the room, voice cold. They didn't bend the law. They built scaffolding around it. He walks past a table stacked with printed Slack threads, sealed memos, and chain of command authorizations. Wray approved surveillance of Catholic congregations. They labeled them radical traditionalists. No warrants, no oversight. Dawson speaks up. That's not counterterrorism. That's targeting Patel. Doesn't pause. They placed agents inside pro-life rallies, ignored violence from the other side, and they staged the Mar-a-Lago raid like theater boxes positioned. Labels turned toward the press. Santos flips a report. 13,000 documents, only 102 were marked. Classified. Patel stares ahead. They weren't after evidence. They were building a narrative, and they used the Bureau to sell it. Elsewhere, in a former FBI media suite, the lights are bright and the coffee fresh. A strategy team studies a news clip of Patel speaking earlier. He's framing it like a purge. An exorcism, a media advisor leans forward, then make him the zealot, right-wing crusader, vengeful operative. We can't refute the files, but we can make him radioactive. The strategist nods, push the phrase. Dangerous precedent. Say he's politicizing the Bureau. Feed it to the networks. New York Times, MSNBC. The usual oxygen, back at the field unit. Patel sits surrounded by open folders. He hasn't blinked in minutes. They're not afraid of the documents. They're afraid the country will read them. Santos exhales. So what's the next move? Patel answers without delay. We finish the audit. Then send the evidence where DC can't kill it. Dawson asks, where Kansas City, real oversight. No cocktail circuits, no Ivy League favors. Santos lowers his voice. You think they'll just let that happen? Patel stands. They'll scream. They'll smear. Maybe worse. But I'm not here to win friends. I'm here to tear down the sanctuary they built inside that stone tomb. The overhead lights flicker for a moment, then steady on the main screen. A new file loads. Internal memo. Coordination with tech platforms. 2020 suppression. An assistant steps into the doorway. "Sir, you'll want to see this." Patel reads the document line by line. His voice is colder than before. They use the bureau to edit the truth. No one responds, but the shift in the room is visible. The old boundary between law and manipulation is gone, and everyone inside that room knows it. Elsewhere, a private room in Georgetown stays quiet. 4 men sit at a round table. No phones, no aides, no interruptions. He's prying open the vault, and the foundation is cracking. Then we break the messenger, not the message. One man finishes his scotch and says it flat. If that building goes down, it takes more than legacy with it. The next morning in a church parking lot in Northern Virginia, a man in a long coat presses a flash drive under a mailbox. No note, no return, only a hand-scribbled label on the case. J.E.H. Confessions. Patel stands alone at a window. The sun hits his face, but his eyes don't blink. "You wore that badge like armor, built a fortress behind 3-letter glass. But marble doesn't hold secrets forever, and this time the walls are talking back." No one had won, not yet, but the tremors were building a long corridor. No signs, no labels. Just steel doors and keypads. Inside one of them, Patel waits at a table alone. Across from him, a hard drive glows blue. It's quiet. Then the screen powers on. Pages load. Video files. Internal chat logs. Unpublished FISA orders. Field intel memos marked compromise chain. A slow breath escapes him. You buried it all. Now it's breathing elsewhere. Inside a Senate staffer's office, 2 aides scroll through talking points. They're moving fast. Too fast. "We're not going to be able to control this once it hits judiciary." Then stall it. Start screaming separation of powers. Say it's about agency overreach. Back at the field unit, Dawson walks in with a new file drop. From the Office of General Counsel, backdated security reviews, blank signatures, no chains of approval. It's a ghost network. Patel reviews the folder in silence, then slides it back. They called it the Mueller team. But they operated off-grid, burner phones, encrypted drop zones, and when the audits came, the phones were wiped, not lost, not damaged, deliberately erased. Santos sits down across from him. This wasn't incompetence, this was insulation. Patel nods once, that's why they're panicking. He lays out 3 names, Weissman, McCabe, Baker. All 3 spoke to the same contractor, Fusion GPS, off record, then passed intel to press. Then used the press reports to validate the very warrants they drafted. They cited their own leaks to justify their own surveillance. Dawson turns pale, that's circular propaganda, weaponized with a badge. Patel looks up with a badge and a courtroom. Meanwhile, across town, an emergency call is taking place inside a glass tower. He's reconstructing the crossfire operation. Not just the team, the timeline, the methods. One voice cuts through. Does he have the Flynn transcripts? The real ones? Not yet, but he's close. And if those drop, everything we redacted, everything we buried becomes admissible. Back at the field unit, Patel unrolls a timeline across the table. Names, dates, locations, directives. Comey leaked to the Times. McCabe backed it with a FISA request. Mueller was appointed within 48 hours. He draws a red line under a memo. Steele was still on payroll. Even after being terminated, they just moved him through a cutout. Dawson reads the line under his breath. Private subcontractor retained via third-party liaison. Unregistered. He leans back in his chair. This isn't just corruption. This is parallel government. Patel closes the folder. The decision is made. It's time to go public. Not with everything but enough a signal. Across the room, a printer hums to life. A fresh file prints out. Patel tears off the last page. One word glows in black ink. Reactivation mid-morning. A server farm outside Quantico comes online. Encrypted files begin transferring. First to a secure mirror, then to 3 unlisted drop sites, all overseas. Patel's voice is measured. We don't publish it, we seed it strategically. One note at a time inside the field unit, Santos watches as file names cascade down the monitor. Each one stamped with internal tags. Classified FISA-related internal counsel, surveillance chain. Dawson steps in. The moment these go wide, they'll call it a breach. They'll scream espionage. You know that, right? Patel looks at him directly. They already have. And I'm not leaking, I'm restoring memory. By noon, the reaction begins. CNN leads with breaking. Patel circumvents chain of custody. New York Times follows insiders. Warn of digital vigilantism inside FBI. But they don't deny the content. Not once backroom chatter at the Justice Department turns frantic. Encrypted message threads light up. Shut him down. Accelerate the containment order. Get the judge elsewhere. In a private office at Langley, two men review surveillance intercepts. Patel isn't freelancing. He's drawing a blueprint, and the pieces fit. Weissman's notes match dates from internal audit logs. McCabe's email threads backtrace to the Baker Dropbox. The links aren't abstract anymore. They're operational. One of them leans forward if he gets to Page or to the Flynn audio. This whole house folds by late afternoon. Patel receives a call. No name on the line, just static, then a voice. You've gone too far. You think transparency is armor. But you're not the only one with files. He hangs up without answering, then turns to the team. That wasn't a threat. That was a confession. Sanos looks up. We've got movement. DOJ just filed an emergency injunction. They're trying to freeze all access, retroactively. Patel doesn't blink. They're fighting the light with paperwork. He opens a drawer, pulls out an envelope, slides it across the table. We filed our own 3 days ago, federal whistleblower protection. Time-stamped and backed with digital integrity chains. Dawson exhales. You expected this, Patel answers flat. They taught me how they fight. Now I'm teaching them how we respond. Later that evening, two senators appear on camera. Senator Hawthorne demands an open hearing. Judiciary must review the files. The people deserve to see how deep this went. Senator Garvey pushes back. This is a reckless political crusade, weaponizing internal files for partisan gain. And just like that, the fracture goes public. Mainstream anchors start to split. Editorials diverge. One calls Patel a patriot. Another calls him a rogue operative with a vendetta. Meanwhile, the files keep surfacing. Not all at once, just enough. An email from James Baker. Subject line, Twitter Coordination Protocol. An internal memo from 2020. Title, Suggested Narrative Guidance, Laptop Response. The public doesn't know what to believe, but they know something's broken. And it's not just the system, it's the silence. Inside the field unit, Patel watches the live coverage. They thought the truth would rot in the basement, but it turns out files can breathe too. No one speaks. The screens glow and the country holds its breath. A memo circulates quietly across federal agencies. Top line reads, Asset Deconfliction, Elevated Risk. Subheader, Patel Activity. Triggered Tier 3 response in D.C. An emergency meeting takes place inside a conference suite 3 floors below the Department of Justice. 12 chairs, one purpose. Stop the bleed, discredit the source. Rebuild the firewall. One advisor speaks first. He's forcing public attention onto intelligence infrastructure. The FISA process, the cross-platform surveillance programs. Things we don't even admit exist. Another voice cuts in. Then make him radioactive. Tie him to foreign influence. Find a backdoor. Find a flaw, even if we have to invent one. Across the river at the field unit, Patel moves with precision. No panic, no overreach, just structure. We leak nothing else. Not until the audit is complete. We've shown the corruption, now we show control. Santos enters with a report. Ray's office just launched a parallel investigation. They're calling it an integrity review of internal leaks. Dawson adds, and they've assigned their own forensic team. Same ones who buried the first audit. They're not reviewing, they're scrubbing. Patel doesn't even flinch. Let them, every file they delete, we already preserved. Twice outside, headlines shift tone. What began as shock is now debate. The country starts asking real questions. Why did an FBI lawyer alter a FISA email? Why were religious groups monitored without cause? Why did Twitter have a direct line to federal counsel? And why did no one say anything? Inside a Senate subcommittee, hearings begin to take shape. Witness lists are drafted, subpoenas prepared. Behind closed doors, people who once served under Comey, Mueller, McCabe start calling their lawyers. The machine isn't moving, it's groaning. And somewhere in the White House, a senior aide whispers what no one wants to say out loud. We lost the narrative. And once you lose the narrative, you lose the protection. At night, Patel reviews the incoming queue. One message stands out. Unmarked, unsigned. No metadata, just 3 lines. You're waking up things that don't sleep. They don't forgive, and they don't forget. Santos reads it, jaw clenched, so we stop. Patel shakes his head. No, we go louder. This isn't just about what they did, it's about who let them. He opens a folder marked Oversight Committee, Bypass Memos. Inside, the signatures are familiar, names from both parties. Rubber stamps disguised as review. This is the part they fear most. Not the crimes, but the silence that followed. Dawson looks up. So what now? You think we're in control of this? We're not here to control it. We're here to expose it. Let the country decide what comes next. The lights dim. One last file finishes uploading to the Mirror archive. Title: Operation Echo. Patel watches the progress bar hit 100%. For years, they operated in echo chambers. Now we give the truth its own no press, no podium, just light. And for the first time, the system can't contain it midday. An unannounced hearing is added to the judiciary calendar. Location marked as temporary. Witness list sealed. Only one name leaks: Kash Patel. Inside the makeshift chamber, security tightens. Patel walks in. No escort, no notes. Just a calm expression that makes people nervous. 3 senators sit in silence as he takes his seat. Senator Garvey breaks first. This committee has questions about your handling of classified material. Your conduct, your intent, Patel replies without blinking. What you really want to ask is why the public knows what you buried. Garvey leans forward. You've violated chain of custody, jeopardized national security, damaged interagency trust. No, I've shown the country how trust was already dead and who killed it. Senator Marston cuts in, voice sharp. You're not a reformer. You're a saboteur with a clearance. Then explain why your agents wiped 32 phones. Before an oversight review, Marston hesitates. Explain why FISA warrants were signed using media leaks you planted yourselves. He hesitates again. Explain how James Baker had back-channel coordination with Twitter. While the Bureau sat on a laptop your own lab had authenticated, Marston doesn't answer. Neither does Garvey. The silence hits harder than any rebuttal. Patel leans in. The problem isn't what I revealed. It's how easy it was to find Senator Hawthorne finally speaks. You understand what's coming next. They're moving to suspend your clearance, freeze your access, cut you off. Let them. I've already downloaded the truth. You can shut the office, you can lock the badge, but you can't reverse the upload. Outside the building, reporters cluster. Inside the Pentagon, calls fly between legal teams and press liaisons. Damage control, contain the fire, shift the story, but no one's holding the hose. At the FBI headquarters, Director Wray holds a closed-door meeting. He speaks only once. If he's not stopped, he's going to bring the Bureau to its knees. One advisor replies under his breath, or clean it to the bone. In the field unit, Dawson pulls up a message flagged from internal monitoring. It's encrypted but cracked. It's from someone inside. High up word message reads, if you think the documents are dangerous, wait until the testimonies start. There are names not on paper, people who never signed anything, but they gave the orders. Patel reads it. Silent expression unchanged. Then he speaks. You wore that badge like it made you untouchable, built your empire on immunity. But immunity was never the mission. Accountability was. He turns to the screen behind him, displays a sealed deposition request. It's addressed to a name not yet spoken in this entire investigation. But one the country knows. The camera cuts. The room fades to black, but the last voice lingers. This time, you don't get to redact your legacy. The hearing room empties, but the echo doesn't fade. Outside, headlines flash in real time. Judiciary cracks. Patel names names on record. Former FBI officials privately retain criminal counsel. In a black sedan downtown, 2 men sit without speaking. former senior advisors. One lights a cigarette despite the rules. He crossed the line, no going back. The other stares out the window. Then we don't pull him back. We push him over. Meanwhile, inside a locked room beneath the Capitol, a classified briefing unfolds. Only 9 people present, no aides, no press, just documents in a slow-burning fear. A former federal judge speaks first. You've unleashed something you can't contain. Once a system's secrets go public, the law doesn't bend, it snaps. A senator responds, so let it snap. Better a broken mechanism than a shadow government with no brakes. Back at the field unit, Patel reviews a new set of depositions. 2 names surface. One tied to the McCabe internal chain. The other linked to Ray's domestic threat initiative. Santos leans in. This confirms it. The coordination wasn't implied, it was designed. Top-down, Dawson adds. And now they're preparing a narrative strike. Not legal, political. They'll call it disinformation. Claim you've been compromised, let them. They've weaponized the label so often it's lost its charge. On a secure feed, a clip begins circulating. It's an old deposition, never aired. Mueller, hesitating on the stand. Question, did you authorize any member of your team to speak to the press? Answer, I don't recall. Follow-up, were you aware of internal communications with Fusion GPS? Pause. Then, no, not directly. Patel shuts the clip. That's what they're afraid of. The stammer, the gray area, the lack of clean denials. He turns to the team. It's not just about who lied, it's about who refused to tell the truth. Elsewhere, a PR war ignites, cable news splits. One side calls Patel a traitor, the other calls him the last honest man in Washington. Social media erupts. Hashtags trend number, deep state files number FISA, fraud number end, the shadow bureau in private email chains. Lawyers representing former officials discuss strategy. Delay, distract, discredit. But something has shifted. The firewall is crumbling, and the public isn't looking away. In the West Wing, a quiet debate simmers behind closed doors. Some want to denounce Patel. Others warn. If we touch this, we own it. Let the Bureau burn on its own. At night, Patel receives a new message. Anonymous, no header, no name but unmistakable. You think this is the reckoning? You haven't seen what's buried beneath the Bureau. You pulled one thread, but there's an entire fabric waiting to collapse. He stares at it, then types a single reply. Good. Let it collapse. Behind him, Santos reviews the next file. It's sealed, high classification tied to internal DNC coordination, mid-2016. Dawson reads the summary aloud. This isn't just FBI, it's DOJ. It's campaign, it's full-spectrum influence. Patel nods. Then this doesn't end at the Bureau. This ends at the foundation. Everything they built, everything they shielded, now becomes the evidence. And in that moment, it's clear. This isn't a scandal, it's a shift. From silence to exposure, from control to collapse, dawn over Washington. The city hums like a circuit under strain. Inside the Bureau, the top-floor conference room is locked. No minutes, no recording, only a single agenda item. Damage containment. A deputy director speaks first. He's gone beyond leaks. He's orchestrating a full institutional breach. This isn't oversight, it's sabotage. A legal advisor answers without blinking. Then charge him something, anything. Make the headline louder than the documents, another voice chimes in. That won't hold. Not anymore. The narrative is fracturing. People aren't asking whether Patel is right. They're asking why we never answered silence. Because there is no clean answer. At the field unit, Patel stares at a map of the country. Red pins mark key flashpoints, judiciary hearings, whistleblower filings, state-level subpoenas, parallel investigations. He speaks quietly. They spent years building a fortress around secrecy. Now every brick is becoming a beacon. Dawson looks up from his screen. They're preparing something. Offline channels, legacy systems. You're not in their databases anymore. You're off script. That makes you vulnerable. Patel answers coldly. Good, let them strike from the dark. That's where their habits live. Santos walks in, holding a file. This just came in verified deposition from someone inside. Not lower level top floor, Ray's inner circle. He sets the document down. Patel reads the name. That's the break. That's the first crack. From inside outside, on cable news, the tone has shifted again. No more speculation, no more filters. Now they're reading the documents on air. Page by page, line by line proof that the Bureau wasn't misled. It was active. It was intentional. At DOJ headquarters, the Attorney General meets privately with senior counsel. One line from the conversation leaks. If this unravels any further, the department will be standing on ashes inside the West Wing. Policy aides scramble. Should the White House intervene or let the institution take the fall? An advisor finally says what no one wants to hear. We can't shield them without joining them. And right now, that looks like political suicide. In the basement of a federal courthouse, a secure printer runs hot. Pages stack, sworn testimonies, classified briefings, undisclosed affidavits. Someone whispers, "This isn't disclosure, it's detonation." Back in the field unit, Patel reviews the final prep file. Not a folder, not a database, a list. 7 names, all linked, all previously untouchable. Santos asks, "You sure you want to do this?" No response, just a nod. Patel walks to the screen, uploads the list to 3 independent servers, encrypted time-delayed release, pending congressional obstruction. It's done. This isn't a reckoning anymore. This is structural collapse. The lights dim slightly. A hum rises from the backup servers, the system preparing for what comes next. No announcements, no press release. Just a quiet line from Patel as he closes the terminal. They wanted silence. They'll answer to the noise outside. Rain begins to fall in Washington. Soft at first, then hard. The kind of rain that doesn't cleanse, it uncovers. No side had won. Not yet, but the tremors were no longer building. They were moving.